Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of The Human Side of Marketing. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, here with your host, as always, Kurt Stockwell.
Chris, there's like a little delay in the video. I don't know if we're seeing that, but you're kind of Max Headroom.
Oh, that was a throwback, Max Headroom. Whoa.
Max Headroom. Anybody remember Max Headroom?
Oh my gosh, I did not see that Max Headroom glitch on my end, so I think we're good. But that was worth it just for the throwback.
Yeah, man, the Pepsi commercial with Max Headroom.
Wow.
Awesome.
Wow. I'm smelling things I haven't smelled in a long time. I'm feeling things.
Yeah, I
Isn't it funny how that works? You get a memory and you're like transported back.
Right. My parents,
I know, right?
I moved from Illinois here to Spokane many years ago.
Yeah.
By way of Denver. That's a longer story. We don't want to get into that here in the podcast.
But, you don't need that origin story.
But my mom and dad are coming to visit. She's like, "Hey, I found your old skateboard. You know, I'm gonna bring it out." And I was like, "Yes." And my wife was like, "No."
That's funny.
You know, you're in your 40s now. You're gonna break easier. So,
were you a skater?
Yeah.
Did you skate? Did you skate,
I
bro?
was a skater. Yeah. I tried to like grow my hair long, but I went to a private school, so we had to like kind of keep it tight. So I couldn't do like the full Tony Hawk. Like,
no. Could you have like a man bun though? Like a
no.
Ponytail, rat tail?
No, not the rat tail. I had the mullet for sure. For sure.
Oh, that's amazing. This all makes me think of the origin story of Kurt.
Yes, that's what we're talking about today.
I know. You set that up. Amazing. It just
I didn't even try.
It just went there.
It just happened. Yeah.
I love it. Well, let's talk like I think everybody knows what an origin story is, but for the sake of like context, we should just say what it is. So tell me about an origin story and then walk me through it.
So my wife and I last month went to see Avengers Endgame. And it was pretty good. But, you know, every great superhero has their origin story.
Yep.
And their origin story is there so that you can kind of connect with that superhero kind of in a deeper way. Because the origin story is like, you know, they came from nothing and became something, and, you know, whether it's the mystical powers of Superman, or it's a rich guy like Iron Man, or, you know, the kid from Brooklyn, like the Spider-Man, you know, and the whole idea of the origin story is so you can relate better to said superhero, right?
Yeah, totally.
So I was thinking about origin stories because we just watched that movie, which by the way, I took my wife to Avengers Endgame on Mother's Day. So
how did that go? Like, did she like it?
She did. I'm like, "Hey, let's go see a movie." She's like, "Okay, what do you want to see?" I don't really care. So, you know, I'm sure I get 0 points for taking my wife to a superhero movie on Mother's Day.
I was like, it was like a gift for you.
Yeah, exactly.
On Mother's Day. Yeah.
But she's pretty easy like that. Anyway,
that's good.
So I was thinking about origin stories. And are you telling people your origin story?
Right.
And I think if not, you should. So we're going to talk today about my origin story. And I'd love to hear a little bit about your origin story.
I like that direction. That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So
I was just going to say, what's there for me was like, when I think about Avengers is such a great story, like this, or example, superheroes, like they do such a good job of making the superhero human and like relatable, because a superhero without an origin story just feels like an untouchable, like they're on a pedestal. I could never be that. But the whole point of the origin story, as you've said before, is just to create a connection, like relatedness. I can relate to you, and you give me I mean, I'm totally like saying everything you're going to say, but like you cast a picture of like what's possible.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you tell your origin story, now this would kind of be your About Us page, or maybe if you're getting an opportunity to speak somewhere, or you're getting an opportunity maybe even to maybe do some mentoring, or bring in maybe a new employee or whatever. Being very vulnerable and transparent about where you've come from can be really powerful in many different ways. And also, I think what it does when you remind yourself of where you came from, it also keeps you humble.
Yeah, totally.
As well. So
yeah, I like that.
So so I personally am in this space of, marketing clarity. And we talk a lot about the book, Building a Story Brand.
Right.
And if you haven't listened to the podcast before, if you go back to previous podcasts, you'll hear us talk about a book called Building a Story Brand often. And it's the whole idea of finding clarity in your marketing messaging by using the power of story. Well, my origin story as it relates to where I am now in helping businesses find clarity in their marketing is about 3 years ago. We were building websites. We were hosting websites. We were helping customers create, solutions to get their message in front of people. But I really felt that we were not delivering as well as we could, as we should be, because I was not able to help our customers clarify their message in a way that I knew it needed to be done. And I was completely, I didn't know what approach to take to find that clarity. So I was actually on a search for how to help my customers take their marketing to the next level, because a website's great. Right. And, a well-hosted website means your website's nice and healthy. And, a trifold brochure or whatever thing you use for your marketing, it's all great. But unless you have the right words to connect with your customer at a deeper level, it can be very noisy. So I knew that we were missing out on that piece. In full disclosure, I don't have an education in marketing. I didn't go to school for marketing. I didn't, I went to school for landscape design.
Yeah.
So there you go. Even
love that part of your story.
Farther back origin story. So I needed to figure out a way to bring more value to our customers. And actually, I found the book Building a Story Brand and read it and went, man, this just makes so much sense. I need to immerse myself in this process of learning how to create story for my customers. And so actually I went to Nashville over a year ago and became what's called a Story Brand Certified Guide, trained by Donald Miller, the author of the book, and his team. And since then have had multiple other opportunities to get some more training and kind of sharpen my skills and sharpen the spear. Because again, and I feel right now my superpower, one of my superpowers is to help businesses find clarity in their messaging. Just today, I was working with a guy who sells insurance, and his conundrum is many times you are beholden to whatever insurance company you are a part of. You're beholden to their marketing, information. So like you can't say certain things, or you have to say it this way. You have to say it that way,
Insurance is tough like that.
Yeah. And you see the same thing in other industries where you're beholden to their marketing. Yeah. And what's frustrating, and what this individual, the reason why you reached out is, he's like, I don't want to say it the way that everybody else is saying it, because it's all the same message. And how do I make myself stand out? So we spent about an hour just sitting with him, and just is kind of like a pre-meeting. We haven't signed any contracts yet or anything like that, but it was so fun to be able to use the tools that I've learned over the last couple of years to say, hey, here's the deal. When people are wanting to buy insurance, ultimately they're not really buying it from, let's use Allstate as an example. They're not buying it necessarily from Allstate. They're buying it from you because they trust you. Now there are some people out there who will be very loyal to one company or another company. But I would say in this particular example, most people really want to just have a trusted advisor who they know that they can go to with questions about the complex world of insurance. Right. So how do we make your message clear and make you stand out as, the guy with the answers? So 2 years ago, I would not have been able to have that conversation with as much clarity as I did. I would have been like, I don't know, let's make a website and let's build you a Facebook page. And now what do we do on that Facebook page? You put on pictures, so good. That those skills and those superpowers, quote unquote, that I've learned over the last few years have come from digging into that book in particular. And other books. There's another great book called Copy That Sells, written by a guy named Ray Edwards, and many other individuals like yourself. I mean, many things that you talk about on your own Facebook page. So that's kind of my background as far as how I got to where I am today with marketing clarity. And we could go back even farther with, website building and all that stuff. But that's kind of where I came from over the last couple of years, and why I feel like, again, my superpower, quote unquote, is helping businesses find clarity. And it came through that humble beginning of being like, man, I got to find an answer because I feel like I'm not delivering as much as I should.
I love the marriage of, or the combination of, like the human side of marketing with this look at how to clarify the message, because I feel like tools, a lot of the marketing world gets preoccupied with tools. So your website, your Facebook page, Facebook ads, YouTube ads, like SEO, like we get so attached to the tools, and the life in all of those tools is the message, like the
Right.
thing you say. And as you were saying it just now, like I was just reminded of how many professionals are just might be good at the tool, like they may be a professional with the tool, like they can design a website like you used to do, but it's the lifeblood of that tool is your message. That's how people get to know you. If you're have a really pretty, like you've said so many times, if you have a pretty website but your message doesn't communicate, then they can't connect with you. It's all about connection. That's what the human side of marketing is all about, is how do you connect?
Right. Right. And I think that another aspect of this origin story conversation that I always have to be reminding myself of is when I'm helping customers come through this process, it's difficult. It can be taxing to really kind of think through your messaging in a deeper way than you ever have in the past.
Totally.
And so I remember, when, again, my origin story, since we're having that conversation about, I remember back a couple years ago feeling really frustrated, and it was hard to bring forth clarity in my messaging and my customers' messaging. So I always remember the fact that, hey, I'm going to be a guide. I'm going to help you through this process. But I understand if you're feeling like kind of stressed out and taxed, that you're having to kind of do some mental gymnastics to really think through your marketing in a way that you never have before. And so I think one of the aspects of your origin story, or anybody's origin story listening, is one of the things that you can remember is, before I kind of got to this point where I feel like I've got this superpower and I'm delivering it to the marketplace, there was a time where I was pretty humbled and I wasn't very good at it. And I need to remember that as I'm delivering my product to my customers, that I'm delivering them something that it could be complex and difficult to understand. Like that insurance guy that I was just talking about, when he was learning all about insurance, he was just as confused as everybody else. And one of the things that we talked about through this couple hour conversation that we had was, I think the main thing that people, think about when it comes to insurance is, it's so confusing.
Yeah.
So confusing.
Right.
And so remember back to where, you were when you got into this industry 20 years ago. He goes, oh, it's still confusing. And so when we remember those things and go, hey, I get it, insurance can be so confusing. I don't have to have all the answers, but if I have a ton of empathy because I remember being there, and it can make a big difference.
Just the dots that disconnected, as you said that for me, where you've talked about speaking at a level 10 versus a level 1, and like most of us, we just need to dumb it down. We need to get really simplified in our message, and when we simplify, we think we're at like a 2, but we're still actually a 7.
Yeah.
Like there was something that just struck me, like if you go back, if you, the business owner, can go back to your origin story and the humility of it, find the humbleness in it,
right?
It almost can help you get back to the level 1 or 2 in how you talk about what you do, because it's over time, as you got better and better, that you started learning all the extra language and lingo and stuff that like talks over our head. But when you go back to like, look, I know insurance is confusing. I was confused. And in reality, like when I started, I was like, I wasn't even sure what it was for. I just knew it was a career I wanted, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And anyway, I just connected the dots. Like there's something in that humility that helps you reconnect to the simplicity of what you do.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great analogy, the level 10, level 1 thing. And like you said, if your product is, the complexity is a level 10, and you think you're talking at a level 2, in reality, you're probably still talking at a level 7. And so that humility, I think that's the big takeaway here is remember your origin story, share it, because in sharing that origin story, people go, oh, you were once like me, And that's the
Hmm.
connection for any of the, the superheroes, right? Is,
Yeah.
they used to be just like me, or they used to be very similar to me, or they had struggles like I had,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so that's really, I think, the essence of what we're talking about today is don't forget where you came from.
Right. Yeah. So good. I love that. Well, speaking of that, if people want help finding their message, clarifying their message, finding, declaring or articulating their origin story,
Yeah.
how do people connect with you? Because I know this is the work you do.
Yeah. So you can go to clarifymymarketing.com
Mm.
and schedule a time to connect. There's a scheduler tool, calendar tool on there. You can go to welldressedwalrus.com. That's our website. You can find portfolio images, stuff like that. On Instagram, Facebook, we're at WD Walrus. And we're in the Tapio Center if you live in Spokane.
Yeah. Right. I love it. There's so many ways to reach you. Isn't that great? Like that's the day and age we live in. Like you can have different experiences of well-dressed Walrus on depending on the platform you're on. So good. So good. Awesome, Kurt. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks
Sorry
for
about the green screen. It's freaking out again.
I think it's going to be cool. It's like a strobe light. People will be scrolling and be like, what is that? Whoa, that's so cool. How did he do that?
Stupid technology.
I know, right? All right.
I wish fixing the green screen was my superpower, but apparently it's not.
Evidently not. Nor mine. Well, until next time, Kurt, thanks for bringing some great content. We'll see you.
All right. Thanks, Chris.